Thanks everyone for joining me tonight. We are talking about budget tips. We had a great conversation. It's always fun to meet new travelers. Everybody's got some new information. Budget tips 2025 because it's always changing. We talked about flights. That was the first topic. I think that is a huge chunk of our travel budget. Even when we're joining a group tour, some of the flights are not included and we end up booking our own flights. In fact, to be honest, I'd rather book my own flight because I've gotten really picky as I've gotten older about flying. If I'm going to go to Egypt, I want the most direct way to get there. And so in my case, maybe I'm flying from JFK to Cairo. So I might want to get to JFK a day before. Maybe I want to have a lot of leeway so I can maybe spend the night just in case anything goes wrong about getting me that first leg to JFK, for example. If I'm joining a tour group in Europe, same thing. I kind of want to get to my destination a day or two early now just to acclimate to the time change, get rested because if I'm going to be on a group trip, a lot of times it's go, 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 go. I'll be honest, and it can really wear you out. So being that I have a little luxury with a day or two, it's important now for me to get to a place early. So when researching flights, Google Flights is a great way to start. Rome to Rio is used for, I like to use it domestically. You can put in where you're starting from and where you want to go. And it'll kind of calculate, how many hours is it if I just decide to drive there? How long is it if I want to fly there? And is it a direct flight or am I going to be doing a connection? What about bus and train? All of those options are kind of included in Rome to Rio. So it is a little site that I do like to use in my planning, especially if I'm not sure. Living in Vegas, I can reach a lot of destinations in the Southwest. I can go north up to Montana, let's say, California or Colorado. But again, how many hours of driving is that? Am I going to want to look then at spending a couple nights to get there? It all helps in the planning process. Skyscanner, Kayak, going.com is a great newsletter. There is a small charge. You can actually go to the website on your own, but to actually get deals emailed to you, you might find it's worth it to sign up for that. It's called going.com. I'll put this all in the show notes. I also have a newsletter that goes out to travelers if you go to my website at yourphototravelguide.com/contact. And that'll be in the show notes too. Other ways to find flights. Sites like Southwest, they aren't often in the aggregators. You're not going to find them in Momondo. That's another one of my favorite websites. Momondo will also show you best, cheapest, and fastest in their breakdown of how to get to a particular place. And that to me has been often very helpful. Often I'll sign up for alerts. There is something to be said if you can fly on a Tuesday. Sometimes that's a cheaper day, say, than flying on a Sunday. So sometimes it's rethinking the days that you can go and how that balances out with your money and your budget. But I do like Momondo quite a bit. They're still really applicable when I'm looking for flights. And then actually going to the actual airline website, whether that's Southwest, whether that's Delta, whether that's United, maybe having a co-branded credit card so you're adding up miles. Miles aren't worth as much as they used to be, but we still want to use up miles that we may have had in the past. And that is something you might want to look at one of the websites. I think it's Nerd Wallet, where he actually compares different credit card offers and how you can use your points and miles to add up to some, discounted or free travel or perks or upgrades. Budget airlines, look and see at your closest airport what some of those budget airlines are. Breeze, there's several other regional ones that are just serving a smaller air cities. So sometimes you can take Breeze, say from Las Vegas to maybe Charleston, South Carolina. I'd have to look to see what their current routes are, but that's just an example. Sometimes I've widened my search. I know I want to go to the central coast of California, and instead of going to LAX and renting the car, maybe it's worth it to fly into Santa Barbara. Maybe it's worth it. Oh, there's an airport in Santa Maria. You may not know that unless you do a little hunting and looking. So again, some of these websites are helpful with that. We talked about lodging, which lodging can be kind of a personal choice. If you're planning your own travel, it can be, some people are perfectly fine with staying at corporate hotels. For me, I tend to like to stay in something that's local, whether it's a bed and breakfast, a historic inn. I like Airbnb. Oftentimes I can get a kitchen or a sitting area. There's a little more space to spread out and really enjoy that place if I have time. So again, it's what is the purpose of my trip? Why am I going? How do I want to see my money being used and played out? So I like Airbnb, Booking.com. We talked about TripAdvisor, Roomer Travel, which is Roomer travel.com. Calling the property. There's something to be said about the old-fashioned pick up the telephone and actually speak to someone. Are they going to give me a discount? Do they have what nights maybe if I adjust my travel, will it be more affordable to stay there? We did have someone share hotel rooms tonight for last minute bookings. A hostess sister on Facebook. These are ways. Affordable Travel Club is another one where you pay a yearly fee, and it's residents that have an extra room in their home. And again, maybe that's a more affordable way to see more of the United States. And you've got a local that might take you around then and share a meal with, or just help you see the sights, or a clean shower. So these are some other options for lodging. For things to do. Oh my goodness, there's so many ways now to find things to do. I keep bringing up Facebook, but for every city in the United States, there is a Facebook page or a Facebook group. Free tours by foot, tours by locals are two good sites. Even Airbnb now has experiences. I'm going to Sedona, I saw experiences for painting or writing postcards or taking a hike. And using Meetup, if I'm going to go to Sedona, what kind of meetups are happening that day? Public libraries, these have really added some opportunities to do some new activities. I know in Las Vegas, they're hosting, besides book events, they're also hosting things like historic tours, walking tours, making friends, connecting that way. Talks, sharing history. So there's often more to the public libraries than there ever were in the past. These are some other ways to get some tips. Tours. If you want a tour that's all inclusive, there's so many companies now. You can find tours for just about every interest you have. There are tours that specify specifically knitting get-togethers, writing a book. You can take a tour. There's meetups. There are small group travels. Maybe you just want to go in a group of 6 to 8. Those trips can be harder to find, but by joining a Facebook group or meetup group or signing up for a newsletter, there are other ways to find these groups. Your local library even has travel groups, like a travel book club. And this is a good way to get information and connect. Journeywoman.com is a newsletter that was started by Evelyn years ago. And it used to be a Xeroxed, she would actually mail you a paper newsletter, which is now morphed into a digital e-newsletter. But lots of good information there on travel tips, solo tours, groups where you can connect with other solo women travelers. It is focused on women. So again, it depends what your interest is. I like Rick Steves' tours. Globus even has some good tours. Find out about who's directing that tour. I think A good tour director can really add to your experience overall. And using a Globus, maybe take the budget off it option, use it as your base trip. There's often a lot of free time built into a Globus tour. So then you can fill in your additional time. I mean, I think we had a whole day practically in maybe Budapest or Prague where, I needed to find my own things, my own walking tour, or did I want to sign up for one of their optional tours? And yes, they always have some good optional tours, but maybe my interest is more in photography. So I'm going to find a local guide to just do photography. This is where Google, and now we have AI coming on board where you can actually do searches with AI. So don't negate those. We didn't even get to sites for clothing. There are lots of places now to get travel clothing. We all have heard about REI stores, Sierra Outlet. I like eBay once I know what types of clothing I might need for a particular travel experience. It might not be something I currently own. I'll often go on to eBay and ask for measurements, look for clothes that are maybe all cotton or all linen or all wool as such. There's some really good name brand clothing that people resell on a site like eBay, and it saves me a lot of time. Yes, I could go to my local thrift stores, but I might be spending a lot of time going through the racks. To me, I can sit at home and go through the racks, so to speak, on eBay, and I can ask the seller questions. I can look at the measurements. I might not be able to touch the fabric, which is something I like to do, but it can give me a good idea. And I have had really good luck, I will say, with finding brand name clothing on eBay that's basically in mint condition, that somebody bought, never wore it, maybe wore it once, and now they're reselling it. They need, they're cleaning out their closet, and you can pick it up for a song, and now you have something in your suitcase that's brand new. I will advise with any type of clothing or shoes for travel, always, always, always test drive it at home. I can't tell you, I'm guilty of it as well. I get excited, I want some new outfits, put them in my suitcase and never wear them. Or I'll put them on and I'll be like, wow, I didn't realize it was cut so low, or it feels tight and it doesn't fit right, or it's itchy. So don't make the mistake I've made and have stuff taking up space in your suitcase that I'm not actually going to wear. So I highly advise trying everything on. That's my quick video for some of the tips we shared on budget travel tips. I'll put some resources in the show notes. And please check out meetup.com tours for women. I do interactive calls at least once a week if I can, sometimes more. And also Facebook, The Travel Collective Facebook page too. And I hope to see you again on an upcoming episode. So thanks everyone. Have a great night.